Cool. This is a community for us as teachers, but I also, and we're going to talk about now, there are certain things that your administrators definitely need to know about, right? They're the ones that program the class. They're the ones who are making sure you have headsets with mics for the assessments. They're the ones that are making sure of different things. So I do not include them on, they're included for today if they want an overview of certain things, but the cafecitos, those monthly meetings we'll talk about, are just for teachers, right? And so, yeah, that's where we are. Okay, so I'm recording. Thank you. Share screen 2. You don't want to see my email. Going to close that. Okay, so our second portion, right? I really want to make sure, again, this is something that learned from last year, making sure you're familiar with the flow of the year. So we're going to talk about the calendar. And so I've seen some of your administrators on it, and just an overview of the year ahead, right? So we are August, oh my God, today's August 20th, right? So I know that a lot of schools, September is a very, very busy time. I get it, right? And so having someone from Central in your school, maybe they don't want it happening in September. I will say, I come in peace. I bring amazing people like Trev or Alexa, Maria DeCunto. Alexa is your L Services Administrator. We come in peace. We just want to see how it's going, especially for cohort 3 schools, your first time. If you have questions and you want support, you might want me to come in earlier in September. I'm available for you, but this needs to be something we plan with your administrators, right? A day to come in. We'll talk about what that visit looks like. I visit your class. I talk to your students. I work on my Spanish, things like that. So again, these are non-evaluative coaching visits. I come in peace and just want to help you make sure you have everything you need. And then cafecitos. So we decided on actually the 3rd Thursday of the month. Some of them are the 2nd Thursdays of the month. And I really want to impress upon you, I know a lot of you have kids, it's pickup time from 3:15 to 4:30. I'm going to ask you, you have all the dates. We're going to decide on the October date today, to please really try that one Thursday a month to be at your computer, not commuting. These cafecitos, yeah. Anyone from cohort 1 or 2 want to talk about the cafecitos real quickly? I don't have a slide on them, but what are they? What are cafecitos?
Hi, it's a great way to just you come together with, the group, which is all of us, and you share out what you've been doing. Everyone puts together a slide of examples of their student work or things that you've been working on since the last cafecito, and people share, what they've struggled with, what's worked for them. It's a really nice space, judgment-free space to just really get feedback, get ideas, get support.
Thank you. And we'd love to see your little ones too. Yeah, thank you. It's a judgment-free space to share, right? Hi, hola, ¿cómo estás? Yeah. Okay, would anyone else like to share about the cafecitos?
Can I share?
Yeah, Monica, who didn't get to come today. But
yes.
Go ahead, Monica.
Okay, so cafecito is like just like get together. I mean, having a coffee at least virtually, and then even though I wasn't able to be there, most of the cafecitos, I mean, probably was there like 1 or 2 times, and then like just share ideas or just like I don't know things that happen at your school, and then I think nothing else, right?
Yeah, thanks. So you have access in the folder. There's an archive. So we have it, I guess it's in the archive. They turned into therapy sessions, right? I definitely don't record those. Oh, my administrator this or that, right? Again, it's a safe space to kind of talk about it. So I have all the cafecitos somewhere. And the idea is that you get paid to attend the cafecitos, but I do ask you to, I'll send around a slide deck. I can prepare all the slide decks in advance. And so the week before the cafecito, you put some student work on a slide. You should all be in a similar place in the module, right? So with the pacing, like for the October one, this September one, you probably already did Unit 0. You've launched Cuando Era Puerto Riqueña. So you're sharing ideas there. So again, that will be in the folder for you. You'll take some time to prepare a slide, and then I would love more time with you. I think 1 hour is way too short, which is why we're making it 75 minutes this year. And so please reserve those dates. And then you'll see on the calendar, a big thing is the idea of assessment administration. I will say this is what happened with cohort 2, that you did not get to assess all your students before the end of the school year. So the students who are programmed for these classes this fall, you might not know all of them, and you might not know their roots in Spanish, right? So this is going to be another year where you're giving an assessment to them, those third-party assessments. So cohorts 1 and 2, you will stick with Avant Stamp 4S. And cohort 3, you're going to be using the Apple assessments from LTI. So this is fun for me because I have to work through all these different platforms. But so again, I will need to know exactly how many students you have so I can purchase the assessments for you. So you'll get those fall and spring. And then we'll talk more. That can satisfy checkpoint A or B exam requirements. So students may not need to take the checkpoint A exam, middle school students, or the checkpoint B exam, high schools. So that's great. So I want you right now to, I'm going to put this link in the chat. You should have all seen this many times. And take like 5 minutes to go through this. And then we're going to go into breakout rooms and have you discuss the calendars. And I'm going to ask you noticings, wonderings, and I added in this column for administrators, and I think that's going to be really important because the administrators need to do certain things. So so you're on the document, take until 10:25 to review this, okay? Independently.
Are we going from like spring all the way to now, or the whole calendar, or from
The
September?
whole calendar, because the things between March and now are checked off. And so not everyone did this, for example, but I'll link in the recordings, but like you should know what happened. If you missed one of the 4 sessions, make sure you watch the recording, for example, which I'll link in. Yeah. You can add comments. I'll let you do comments directly on this document if you would like. Okay.
Hi, sorry. Where do I find that document? I just can't read it. It's too small. Where can I find it in the shared drive again?
Oh, yes. Okay, I put the link in the chat. But also, if you go to the main folder, this is something that's not in the Spanish folder because it's the same. It's the same for Spanish and Mandarin. So it's in, oh God, so slow, sorry. So if you go to the Heritage Courses, All Educators, and it's right here. Down underneath all the folders, there's directory map, and then here's the at the glance calendars. You see it?
Found it, yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Look through it, comment on it as you like. maybe one more minute, or do you want more time? This is really important.
One more minute, I think. I'm almost done. Hold on, babe.
Don't delete my columns, guys. Okay. I think this is time well spent because I think, okay, so the Vista training, so I'll say we're here together virtually until like 2 today. Tomorrow I'll be available virtually if anyone wants to meet. And then Monday, the 25th is a chance for us to get together in person, but the Vista training for an hour is virtual. Yeah. On Tuesday. I will record that, but I really hope you can join that one because that's going to walk you through how to set up your classes within SuperSite. And I might have someone from cohort 1 or 2 share if they want to share anything, lessons learned or tips for SuperSite, because I know that is something that takes a while and that is something that needs to happen in September. So open mic, do we want to talk through? Let me see the chat. Oh, yeah, cool. Okay, open mic, who wants to ask questions or talk through it? Or do you want to go into breakout room discussions about this? I don't think we need to go into breakout rooms to talk about the calendar. Yeah. So any questions on up to August so far? Can folks confirm about 10 or 12 of you should have received the books already? Some of you have not received the books yet. So those will be coming very soon. I will send you a separate email about those. And so you've all been invited. Looking at August. I'm going to make this bigger, but you are following along on the document, right? So speaking about August, you're here because you and your administrator followed up and submitted the survey. I think maybe you remember at the beginning in the spring when we started the PD, there were like 30 schools involved, right? And then not everyone was able to come. Some decided maybe it's not the best fit for this fall. So now we're at about 15 schools confirmed, and there's like 1 or 2 schools I'm waiting to hear back from. So I believe in the survey that hopefully you were part of completing the survey, they said that they coded the course, and I can't access this because I am not on a DOE. I'm not on a DOE network right now, but there's a specific course code about this course. Gabby, we need to talk again. You're the only one teaching like a year 2 of it because I think the sequence might be a little different for you. It's a 4-course sequence. over 2 years versus one course over 2 semesters. Yeah. Any questions about anything in August? And here are the upcoming in-person dates. The only one in person is on Monday. If you would like to come and meet the teachers in person, that would be great. But I just want you to feel ready for the new year.
I have a question. I wonder if throughout the year, just because there's just so many emails and so many things that we have to do, like you, wonder if we can communicate only via, like if we can have notifications set up for, I don't know, the Google Classroom that we're going to be working on. That way, like if
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
like
So that's what I was going to say. There's a slide around that. Yeah, I send a lot of emails. I even get lost with my own emails. So the idea was this year you should have been invited to a Google Classroom. I personally, I want to use that for announcements. So it's one place you could go to see what's going on. Like last year with the assessments, I was sending logins and then I had to send revised logins and then upload a slide deck on how to get your students to log in, things like that. So that's why we're going to use Google Classroom. I'm wondering though, if we want to, like a lot of you, I saw you already introduced yourself on Google Classroom. Astrid, I think you were one of the first ones. When someone responds on Google Classroom, do you all get notifications?
It depends on how you have it set up for yourself. So mine are off because I cannot get a notification from 200 students at a time.
Yeah. Okay. But when students respond, you're all kind of in there as students. When students respond to each other, I don't know. Like,
It
Only if you
depends.
have it on.
Yeah, each person has to set their own notification setting.
actually, I think the teacher has to set up whether students can talk to each other and
I have that all set up, but last year when I did it for, yeah, we can talk offline around that. But the idea is that we are going to use Google Classroom more. So that is where maybe you check it when I post something, and I will have all the dates for the cafecitos there in the calendar. I don't know how, maybe we could use Google Meet for those because it's already embedded in there, or we can figure that out if we stay on Zoom for the cafecitos. But yeah, it could be a discussion board, but it is certainly going to be a place where I put important information. And so that goes to your email when I post something there. Yeah. Too many emails. I don't know if I win or lose, but I probably lose because I have the most emails. I don't know. But yeah. Okay. So that's that. Other things you want to talk about with the calendar?
Joe, I put a comment on there for the stamp assessment. Like if we started it in the spring, but the kids didn't finish, can I have those kids just sign in and finish? Because not on the same license, or do we need to like tell them to trigger, like, can you open the window again? Because I have the same kids back. They just didn't finish in the spring.
Wait, aren't they 12th graders?
Right. So I tested them as juniors. We started testing them as juniors.
Oh,
Not the ones that
okay.
graduated, the
I
ones
was like,
that I
what?
was
Yeah.
placing. No. The
Oh,
ones that I
yeah.
was placing. So we started them as juniors, but then like that's my only feedback is do not start testing the
We
last
ran
week
out
of
of
April
time
because
with the regents.
yeah, regents,
Yeah.
AP tests, pulled for things, trips. There's no way I'm testing them in March this year. There's just no way. I'm waiting. But the ones that it started in the spring, can I have them just sign in and finish? Do we need to tell Stamp like
Yes. No,
test?
I think that should be fine. So we actually, let's look at your reports. So basically,
Because I have like a lot of unused licenses there, and I like you already paid for them. I want to use them.
reset. Yeah. So basically the big idea, I don't think I have a separate slide on the assessment, so I'll just kind of tell you right now. The big idea is that you need to have a sense of where your students are when they come into your class, and then where they go, where they are at the end of your class, right?
Mhm.
And so Vista and Galeria has, and I apologize, I know I have a slide on the assessment somewhere, but they have some internal baselines and everything, but we are going to be asking you, and again, I have spent tons of money to order you licenses that you are going to administer. Again, cohort 3, you're going to have access to the Apple exam, so 2 per student. So if you have 32 students this year, you'll have at least 64 exams to test them in the fall, each student in the fall and each student in the spring. And then another set of assessments available to identify your next set of students for next year, which is what Yvette was mentioning, right? So that is something that I do have a slide just kind of explaining. Well, it's on the scope and sequence that it's a multi-day process to assess the students. And so you are doing a sample test day. You're doing one day of the sample test. You have to roster the students within the platform, and then 2 to 3 days for the assessment. So you're going to do that in October, and that is something that you need to discuss with your administrators, because in order to do that, you need a headset with a mic. And so you need to figure out one day in class that you're going to do the sample test with them. Make sure you have all the tech ready. I think, and I'll ask anyone in cohort 2 to share, but I think students were not used to speaking into the headsets, right? And so a lot of students were muffling when they were talking like this, and then it was not rateable. So speaking specifically, which is where our heritage speakers shine, on the assessments, the scores didn't necessarily show what they could do. So I'll have more information. I will on the logins and things like that. But if you remember cohort 3, there was a flurry of emails in June, and you were all given logins to LTI to set up to order assessments. So Maria, I think Maria De Cunto, I feel like you were the only one who assess students at Bushwick Leaders so the rest of you will be doing in October. And then what do you think, Yvette? March or April? No later than April?
Early April. When is spring break this year? Oh, spring break is the
Spring break
first
early.
week.
It's April 2nd through 10th.
Then either the week you get back from spring break or the week before.
I'm going with the week before. 'Cause
Yeah,
there's
we're gonna
always
do-
that one kid who like needs more time to finish.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just once May hits, I mean, if your kids are in any AP exams, then like that's 2 weeks that they're in and out and God knows, but
Yeah.
May is a wash.
And this is really helpful data. So I am right now, I have a citywide view of all the assessments from last year. And so at Jessica's school, Jessica Castillo, right? That's 8th grade. So she tested 85 students last year, and this is seared in my brain because I'm writing an impact report. 52 out of 85 of her 8th graders passed checkpoint B expectations. So that means they're going into high school with already having passed checkpoint B, which is pretty awesome, right? So what's neat about these assessments is that you give them the fall and the spring. It gives you good data for what you need at school, right? And so they can satisfy checkpoint A or B requirements. And then also, if they have a 6 or above in all the 4 subtests, that also satisfies the seal of biliteracy. We're going to talk a little bit about the seal of biliteracy now. Not all of your schools do the seal yet, but especially if you have 12th graders in your heritage courses, I want you to start a seal program this year so that those students have a pathway to the seal. For the other schools that are focusing on 10th or 11th grade, I can help you plan, and then you start a seal program for the year they're seniors. Yes, Maria.
I just wanted to say what we were just talking about satisfying certain requirements like checkpoint B and seal of biliteracy. That's for stamp 4S, not for Apple.
It's for
right?
both. It's for
Or
everyone.
both. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
both of them. Yeah, they're basically parallel assessments. I will say that neither Avant or LTI are contracted, so I can only spend a certain amount with each of them, but they all satisfy checkpoint A, B, or C. On each subtest satisfies satisfies 2D for NYSSB. Yeah. Would anyone like to share? We're not going to go too much more into the assessments because that's like setting that up and making sure you have logins, and we have a few new teachers. So like Astrid, you wouldn't have a login yet, but Lizbeth did, so we'll make sure you get what you need. Anyone else from cohort 1 or 2 want to share about the assessments? Carla, I know I was there one of the days you did it. Carla, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's obviously it's important to have your headsets and get that situated right away. If it's the one that goes into the ears, I put mine in, like I just put their names on them so that, you know, they're not sharing ear germs. um, and then also definitely not posting the links in Google Classroom for them to access. Just kind of having it available in the classroom so that they're not going home and doing the assessment at home with help. I remember the first time I did the assessment, I realized, oh, this is like I need to collect their devices, you know. Don't just tell them to put it away. Like I started collecting it. Because even with the best students, they're still on their phones, right? It's this addiction that they can't shake off. So definitely collect their devices every time. And then one issue that kept coming up was, being able to do the speaking part of the assessment without the background noise, and some students are really shy about doing that in the classroom with other students hearing them. But then when I would send them into the hallway, you have teachers even walking by talking to the students and trying to have conversation with them. And so I just tried to, I made a sign for each of them. So if someone came near their space, they can show them the sign, I'm testing, please don't talk to me. But yeah, just giving them a lot of encouragement and telling them, you can do this and don't worry, like do your best. Just so that they don't feel that anxiety of, oh, I don't, this doesn't sound like my Spanish, I don't know this, I can't do this. I don't know if there's anything else.
I think also prepping them with the sample tests. I don't know what the Apple sample test looks like, but the stamp one is pretty faithful to what the actual test looks like, and walking them through like what they're going to look at in the test. Because for the first one, I think Arlene and I didn't look at it that closely. And then the second time around, we were like, press this play button. It will talk to you in Spanish, because the prompts are in English on the stamp, and then they have to respond in Spanish. But if they listen to it, it's in Spanish, so they can like hear it, get vocabulary, and start to see like what they're expected to respond. Just prepping them with that sample test is really, really useful.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. So again, I will have more information by the September cafecito, but I'm just asking you to kind of look ahead, and I'll link it in the calendar, but I'm telling you now to really start to think about that, right? So when you go back, you're going to have a great first few days, you're going to teach unit 0, but thinking in your head, when would we like Jill to come in for that fall visit? And when would we like to administer those assessments? Because there's the backwards planning. Make sure you have the headsets with Mike. Make sure you have a demo day in class, and then set up time for this. Yeah. And then the sample reports. So Apple looks a little different, but it's really great because I don't know if any of you can speak to how the students felt when they got the reports. This is the Apple report, and it is an example for Sally's student. And so it tells them there are 4 subsections for each of them: interpersonal speaking and listening, interpretive reading, interpretive listening, and presentational writing. And so, yeah, so they get information on how they did, and then they get level up strategies. So they get individual score reports. I think the reports are also available in Spanish for the parents to understand. So that I'm going to be asking you to give each student a copy of their score report to talk through. Other comments on the assessments? That's a big part of the calendar. Oh yeah, Arlene, that happened with your students, right? Yes.
I would also add, just in terms of the speaking and recording their speaking, that there's only a certain number of times that they can do it, right? Is it twice? I can't remember. But I remember like some kids being like, "Oh my God, I can't, like, I was doing my speaking and someone spoke to me and now like I'm out of, chances to redo it." So just really being mindful of that.
But I do have to say something about the speaking part. Yes, it's kids are shy and that's something that we have to work through. But on the AP exam, for example, like they all have to speak at the AP language exam, they all have to talk at the same time and they have to, even though there's the background noise is the other students taking the exam as well. So in my class, it works that we all do the speaking at the same time, although it's hard to do because sometimes they finish writing faster than others. It's kind of like we'll have to wait for everyone to be done with all the three modalities, like the speaking, the writing, the writing, the reading, and the listening. But speaking all at once, it's the best way for me because nobody is going to be listening to what you're saying because they're recording their own test. And I'm also, in a way, getting them ready for an AP Spanish language exam where, in my school at least, they all record themselves at the same time. So there are a few
Yeah,
things. I mean, middle school has to be different, of course, a different, like Yvette says, like take it with your own knowledge of our own students. But recording at the same time has worked for me always.
Yeah, thank you. I think we're giving you the information and saying
Yeah.
that it can be tricky, so you'll have to figure out what works best for your students. And right, so this is a pre-AP course. So like even the Charlamos that we did earlier, that is like getting students prepared for quick, spontaneous conversations like they'll need to do on the AP. So Maria definitely, like, because she teaches AP as well, is always thinking about those AP pieces, but you need to find out what works for your students. Do you have, yeah, so you'll figure that out. But more on the assessments, but the idea is we have paid for you to have assessments for the fall and the spring. This will give you really good data that we can filter in different ways. I think and so that's a piece of why we're also trying to make a case about how this course helps students in ELA as well. So I'm not exactly sure what the research questions look like, but one of the pieces is that we're asking you and your administrators to send us the schedule so we can start to plan visits, like figure out if we can visit 3 of you in Queens at the same time or 2 of you, whatever. And then rosters of the students. They may change a little bit, but it will be helpful to know, do you have 2 classes? A lot of you gave that to me in the survey, but I also need to purchase the assessments. So do you have 50 students? If you have more than 50 students, I don't know if we'll have to talk, you might need to purchase some on your own. But the L status will be helpful to see as well. And again, heritage speakers, they could be Ls, they could be former Ls, they could definitely not be Ls. L status doesn't matter for this course, but for the data piece and kind of thinking about the growth measures, I think we want to look at L status. Okay, Stephanie, your textbooks have not arrived yet. Okay, I will look at some have not been sent yet because I needed to open a second PO. Okay. We need to reschedule the October one. I'll send out a doodle for that, but I will be away during the 9th and the 16th. So those 2 Thursdays in a row I can't do. So we could shift to an earlier day. And then that month you're off for Diwali and Indigenous Peoples Day. But please, the other ones, other than the October one, please save those dates and we will try definitely not to have to change them for any reason. Okay. Yes. So that's a good point about including your AP. So like Monica, for example, I email you information. If you always want me to include Ms. Marones, I can. For Stephanie and Gloria Rodriguez, right? I can include Lydia and everything. Adam for John Adams, things like that. So certain things the administrators definitely need to take care of. Other questions about the other thing I'll say is that 2 citywide conferences where I'd love representation. Yvette, I'm looking at you, and Arlene, like if you want to present this year, for example, Maria always presents. But we have citywide conferences that I organize Monday, January 26th at the Citywide PD Day. That's going to be virtual. And we want these programs to be present for other language teachers to know about. And then on the other PD Day, June 4th, it's going to be an in-person conference. So, yeah. Other preguntas before we close this? Okay, Gloria Cortez, go.
Yes, as I told you before, I was away on vacation for, most of the summer. Does Adam gave you the number for the other licenses of the classes? Because I don't know if I clarified to you, we have one heritage class last year that was not part of this program. So the 3 that we have, they already graduated. They were all seniors. They took the the seal and everything because we didn't have it as organized as you do now, or you are you are organizing this, but we have the heritage for almost
Yeah,
maybe the 3rd year. So we're gonna have one class from last year that is gonna be like year 2 of heritage. And then we have 2 more incoming classes. So in total, we're going to have like 90 students of heritage. One from
yeah.
last year, and I don't know if Adan already explained to you our the
I didn't.
numbers.
So you're doing 2 different levels as well.
Yes.
So this survey, I'm showing it to you because you're here because your school filled out this survey. I'm
Okay.
thinking that quite a few of you, like Maria de Cunto, for example, Avery filled it out for you, right? But this has the information that said you will definitely be the teacher for the course, that they programmed the course. Like Genevieve, your school has not programmed it yet, but they expect it to be. So this is important information. So if you don't know anything about this form, make sure, like, so Josue, who's not here, it will be 5 times a week, things like that. So this is helpful information, but for you, Gloria, Adam filled this out, and yeah, 2 different levels. So that actually means that you and Gabby Martinez will be planning together because you have like because the main idea is that most teachers are planning for unit 0, then module 1, 2, and 4, and 5. But then you and Gabby, who are teaching like a 2nd level, are going to do modules 6, 7, 8, and then back to 3. So it looks a little different because when you go in the drive, there is a lot for modules 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's not so much for 5, 6, 7, and 8 because so far we only have one teacher who taught modules 5 through 8, Ariana, who's not continuing. So I'm working with Ariana to try to bring some of the resources for modules 5 through 8 into the drive, if that makes sense. So yeah, so I have a sense if you're on here, they told me how many books you requested, what mixed levels, and mixed levels are totally fine. Elizabeth Morales is going to have some 12th graders too. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you feel like it's necessary, connect us over email with your administrator, and then we can go from there. But all of you are here because they committed and told us how many textbooks you needed. I will let you know about the textbooks delivery confirmations. Okay, I'm going to close this. Any more questions on the? Cool. Okay. It is 10:55. Oh boy. Okay. The second 2 chunks of the day are going to be for, I think, unit 0, like 30 minutes. And then the rest is scope and sequence. And then after lunch, we'll dig into module 1 specifically. So the next chunk was going to be, okay, let's do a few more things. So we didn't do those slides, that's fine. Confirming our materials. We really need to make sure that you have vhlcentral.com access. I'm confirming that it's going to say pilot school. Actually, Can one of you in cohort 3 log into VHL Central and see if it says pilot school for you?
I'm logged in. It says pilot school.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Solved. Okay, cool. You can download the book as an ebook. The teacher's edition, though, is helpful, but it does not link to student activities. So if you want to link to student activities, you have to use the ebook, I think, the downloadable ebook. So class set, some of you said 25, some said up to 34. So the class set you requested will be delivered to your schools, and then that training is. I need to get back to you, cohort 3, about the workbooks. For cohorts 1 and 2, they had workbooks sent to them. I think some teachers used them and some teachers definitely did not. Carla, Yvette, Arlene, did you guys use Juan, did you use the workbooks?
We use them.
We did. Mostly for the gramática that we don't really want to teach.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
no, and the
Not the
workbooks
workbook.
also had like good readings, like supplemental readings. So like on days, there was some days that me and Arlene are both out because we both have to go to UFT Teacher Center training. So we would leave the workbooks because that way they don't have to like do the textbook. They don't need, and the sub doesn't need to do anything. Like we leave them the workbook and they did it. And they like those readings too.
Things are always related and they're funner than the ones in the textbook.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think
will
it's because they get to write in the book, honestly. There's something about writing in a workbook that triggers kids.
Right. Well, I cannot promise that I will be able to send you each another set of workbooks. They throw those in gratis for us because we're making such big orders and stuff like that. But after like 1 year of workbooks, yeah, you might need to purchase more. Juan, were you going to say something? No,
No, I didn't use those.
you didn't. Okay. So one of the workbooks is more clearly AP skills, and one of them, right?
Yeah, if anyone wants, because like we teach 12th grade, so my kids are not going to AP. Like the kids we teach are kids that are in our class because they're not in AP, which I also teach. So like I'm never going to use those books because they're too aligned to Galeria. Like I can't use them in my AP class. It's a completely different curriculum. But I'm also not going to waste them with this cohort because we use the Destrezas Básicas one. I'm not going to use both. So if anybody wants those AP books, the workbooks from me, I can give them to you, Jill. Like we're not going to use them. They're still in the shrink wrap.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know.
Like if someone is preparing their kids to go to AP, they're welcome to have them.
Okay, thanks. And Louisa and Gabby, we need to talk because were those all filled out? Do you need another set of workbooks, for example? We'll talk through that. Yeah. So this is what it should look like when you log into VHL Central Pilot School. And then, yeah, so I have multiple levels, but teaching tools, right? And are the workbook resources in here, guys?
No,
No.
I never got the Destrezas Básicas. I think I got the
No,
AP
they
ones. That's
are.
why I didn't use it.
The workbook activities
the
are
workbooks?
also they're in
Resources?
each module, depending on the fase. Cada módulo, si te vas a la fase que estás enseñando, también hay destrezas.
Okay.
Yeah, so they could be assignable, I think, as well.
Yeah, but that's from the real textbook. Like the
That's
workbook, I've
That's
never
not the
seen them here.
workbook. I never seen the workbook.
Again,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna follow up with Vista because before the training on Tuesday, there are a few things I need to make sure you can do. So all of you need to make sure when you go into your vhlcentral.com account and put in the chat if you still haven't gotten vhlcentral.com account, because they have said that they gave all of you access. All of you that are here should have full access. And then resources, the VTEX, things like that. Yeah, but to start setting up classes, for example, that is what the training on August 26th is going to be. So you should have your rosters with your student names in order to do that on Tuesday, the 26th. Preguntas? We kind of went different places.
I have a question, Jill.
Yeah.
Would it be too much to just like maybe do a gentle nudge to admin that we need these rosters for the training? I think it that would be so great, just because at least in my school we have so many things in the air. Because I'm afraid that I won't have them by Tuesday and I really need them.
Yeah, and yours
As,
is
as someone who's programming a school right now, I'm just gonna say they might not have them yet.
Yeah.
Like I have programmed 2 grades and like 10th grade I have not done. So they might not have them.
The
But
good thing is, I think if we ask now, maybe we have hope. by Tuesday.
yeah, and then we'll record the training, but at least during the training, you'll set up your classes. And then when you get the names, but yeah, so that's Kristen as your AP, right?
Yes, please. Wiles, yeah. Thank you.
So, yeah, I will for things like that, like Libani, Juan probably has your rosters and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
You'll
think so.
talk to your APs, but specifically, I can email Kristen, Genevieve, and things like that. So,
Amazing.
yeah, sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 11:02. I want to scope and sequence in unit 0. I'm thinking, do we want to take a break 11:10 to 12? We do that. Then you do lunch and then we come back 12:30 to 1:30 for module 1. Does that feel right? Okay, so this is going to be 11:10 to 12. And then 12:30 to 1:30. Okay, so we'll do 11:10 to 12, then we'll take like a lunch break. And then, so 11:10 to 12, the scope and sequence in unit 0. And Yvette, I know Yvette and Kaylin, you did some thinking about unit 0, right? So maybe you could speak for a few minutes around that. And then we'll come back and we'll really dig into module 1 after lunch. Does that sound good? Okay, so log off. I mean, don't log off. Just turn your camera off and everything and like come back in 7 minutes. Is that okay? Okie dokie. Thanks. Stop recording for a sec. Sharing. Okay, cool. Welcome back. Okay. I'm trying not to drink too much coffee. Oh my gosh, but I'm gonna have more coffee this afternoon. Okay. I'm gonna start sharing my screen again. So I wonder actually if the scope and sequence is going to be anticlimactic for you because we talked through quite a few of these things, but I want to, yeah, it's kind of a mix between like a pacing guide and a scope and sequence. So what we already mentioned, right? So I think we really need to try to keep to the schedule. Obviously, Kaylin will have to figure out if you're only seeing your students 2 days a week, but this is really what we are hoping. And so April break is April 2nd through 10th. So hopefully you can close up module 1 and then, close up module 4 before April break. And then, yeah, and then module 5 after. And module 2, Lunar New Year actually falls during February break this year. It's February 17th, so that means you do not get an extra day for Lunar New Year. So it is what it is. I know teachers sometimes like to get together over the breaks and do some real learning and per session. I travel on the breaks and my son's off, so I travel on the breaks. So anyway, and then again, Gabby and I think Gloria will really think about level 2. So it's interesting, and this is something to discuss, and I've tried to make it clear to your administrators that this is students after 1 year of this course could be prepared for AP. Some of the students who need to build more literacy skills might need a second year of Galeria before they're ready for AP. But some of them after 1 year could go to AP, but Genevieve and Kaylin and all of you at middle schools, of course, that's going to look different, right? They're not going to go straight to AP as 9th graders. So think through that. So I will put this in the chat. It assumes 5 days a week with students. I think 4 days a week is fine. Less than that gets dicey though. Fall and spring assessments, again, we talked about that. And then we're trying to layer on components of testimonios and the seal of biliteracy onto this, right? And that's a screenshot of a language map. I believe that comes up in Unit 0, Yo soy poema lírico. So why don't I give you about 10 minutes to look at the scope and sequence, which is not currently in the Google Drive folder because I'm going to fix it up a little bit, but it will go in the Google Drive folder. And Yvette's on it, and I'm going to put it in the chat. Where should I? Okay, guiding documents. There it is. It's in that guiding documents folder now. I'll direct you to a few things on this document, right? So all of you are on it, or at least quite a few of you are on it. So the main page you're going to go to all the time is Vista Higher Learning. I might ask some of you in cohorts 1 and 2 to speak to how you use the super site. Did you pull all the resources for the module at once? Did you go on every day? Did you have, certainly students are going to need to create their own accounts within the super site, but any tips you can share on using the super site, great. The Vista General, the second document right here, you can see my screen, right? Yeah. So this Vista General, it's in your, if any of you have the teacher's edition, if you were there on June 30th, you have the teacher's edition that I gave out. And also in your Vista Higher Learning account, the teacher's edition, right? It's at the beginning. It's not as pretty if it's not a huge document. Sorry, I'm gonna go back. Vista General. I think it's yeah, there's a lot in there. So make sure you're clicking around in here. I'm going to, before our training on Tuesday, I'm going to put together a Google Doc where you can add any questions you have. This is the Vista General, which makes more sense when it's side by side, right? So it goes across and shows you what is in Module 1. Module 1, what are the 4 fases, right? And then what are the skills they're going to work on? Module 1 is really rich. Module 1 has text. They're talking about idea principal. There's a lot of fase 2 lessons that may or may not be used. And then they go into poetry, Afro-Latinos, and there's a lot in Module 1. So this is the Vista General. And then this pacing guide is to help you think about, like, how can you, again, you're not going to be able to do everything in Module 1. So think about what you can do to get through a lot of Module 1, at least fase 1, by the end of September. And then you'll have fase 2, 3, y 4 through October and the beginning of November. And then mid-November, you're launching Module 2. Does anyone from cohort 1 or 2 want to share anything? You haven't seen this document either, but it's going Module 1, then 2, then 4, and it layers on the other pieces.
This would not be the sequence for like a year 2, right? Like I'm thinking, I think Stephanie and other people, and maybe Jessica, it would have to be
Yeah.
a different one. Okay.
Right, so that's what we need to build out. Yeah. So this is for the first year of Heritage. So we will copy this, and so for Gabby and Stephanie, are you teaching a second level? Stephanie Ramirez, are you teaching a second level?
Maybe we should call it second year so we don't get confused, like year
Yeah.
1, year 2.
No, we were actually advised by Nancy to, because none of the kids have taken the class. So we are doing year 1 for both sections. And then next year, whoever took year 1, but would technically be year 2, would be going off to AP, we guess, because they will be in 11th or 12th grade. And then whoever was in the year 1 will just continue with the year 2 of whatever this would qualify for.
Yeah. So you specifically at Cardozo, I need to set up time. Jorge, is Jorge still here?
Yes,
Jorge.
I am.
Oh yeah. So 9 of your students, Jorge, are going to Cardozo, and Cardozo has a program. So basically there are 9 students coming from that middle school that have already had modules 1, 2, and 3.
Oh.
Yeah. So I said to Lydia, I have their names and their OSIS numbers and stuff, so we need to think about those students because
I think it's good thing because it just allows us to go deeper and these students already have like an idea. So I don't think it's an obstacle. I think it's an asset. Use it as like they
Yeah.
can go deeper into, because high school discussions and middle school discussions may be different about their point of view and how much they can express themselves. So
Yes, and I don't want the students to go in and be like, I already did this, so we'll need to think through. But that's us as we continue to expand programs in middle and high schools, we might see this more, but this is the first time we're seeing this, that the same students are going to get the same content. Yeah.
That's great. Do you mind sharing when you do send it to Lydia? Could I also be CC'd on it just so that we're double
Yeah.
checking?
You, Gloria Rodriguez, and yeah, the 3 of you. Yeah. The other thing I want to direct you to is there are not specific Hispanic Heritage Month like lessons and stuff like that. This whole year is Hispanic Heritage. I will remove some of the colors. I wanted to at least highlight the first cafecito in yellow, but I will make sure that like other things are not as overwhelming color-wise. A lot of the fase dos, and Yvette, I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot and I can't remember exactly where it is in your slide decks, but what you did with fase dos. Fase dos, I think I mentioned before, but it is very out of context, very like teacher-centered grammar lessons that your students may not need, right? Do they really need about sustantivos? Do they really need about subject-verb agreement? They probably don't. So fase dos, ortografía and puntuación, do they need a lesson on palabras agudas? Maybe 10 minutes, they could use a reminder, or when you're looking at their writing, you could remind them about palabras agudas. But fase dos is one that we have decided overall does not need to be like 5 days of instructional time. That's a waste for everybody. So yeah, so I put those in gray in the scope and sequence. You can do with them what you want. But Yvette, do you mind sharing, what did you do the first time you had them teach each other? Yeah, go
In
ahead.
Módulo Uno, we straight up skipped it.
Okay.
I think we did a do now 1 or 2 times. I'm just looking back at the slides because I remember then in Módulo Dos, we did the student groups where they taught the class. So what I did was we took from Module 1, the ones we didn't talk about, like Palabras Agudas, and Module 2, Fase Dos, we put the 6 topics on the board and had groups of 3 choose a topic, and then they had that class period to do a chart or a lesson. I told them it had to follow a lesson structure, and it had to be 5 minutes. So they had to do basically like a mini lesson and a practice. And then each group, I think it was the next day, each group presented taught their lesson on their grammar topic. So me and Arlene just sat back and let them teach. It was one day for them to prep and one day for them to teach. And then they were the teachers. They did practice. They had kids come up to the board. They gave out our stickers. Like, they took it to a place we never thought it would go. And we only did it because they wanted to do the gramática. We were going to cut it, just do like short lessons, but they were like really into accent marks and they wanted to do it. So they did that. So that's in my module 2 slides, but not in module 1.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to share how they're addressing fase dos? Because again, you'll see that like it's in gray, or you might decide to, it's not a fase that we're saying you have to teach página por página.
Yeah, and bringing it to the AP, and I know Yvette also teaches AP Spanish language, they don't get penalized if they don't write everything perfectly with, subject agreement. I mean, they don't get penalized, they don't get a 5 maybe, but it's not something that there aren't any questions on the AP exam about. Is this una palabra esdrújula o es una palabra sobre esdrújula? There are no questions like that. It's more like when they're writing, I mean, there are many ways to go about it, but I also, like Yvette and Arlene, I don't spend a lot of time on the gramática.
Yeah, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Yvette, but like the check bricks, for example, in the check bricks, those are those checklist rubrics. Don't students like check their use of diacritical marks and palabras agudas and things like that, right? Yeah, so
Yeah. And like autocorrect does it for you. And it
I know.
helps.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not the end of the world. And
Yeah.
heritage speakers, it's much like English. Like, it makes sense. So that's why it's right. Like, I have a whole bachelor's in Spanish and I can't tell you la palabra pluscuamperfecto de yo que sé. Like, I don't know. I just know it sounds right because I've been speaking Spanish since I was in the crib. So we don't belabor on it, and like they're not gonna need to know it. Like the actual name of the word or
Right.
the rule, like it doesn't
Agree.
matter as long as their writing makes sense and they can communicate.
Thanks.
And that we model every day, like you said, Jill, and I don't know who said, I think it was Kim, like we make sure that on our slides, we have that accent mark. If on our slides, we have the capital letter on our slides and whatever we're presenting to the students, there's concordancia and there's like all that stuff, but kind of like, that's how I go about it. Like, I want to make sure as much as possible that I'm writing well so that they can see it, but it's not that I'm expecting them to know that they have an accent mark and más, which one has an accent mark, which one doesn't. I don't really go through that. Because
Yeah, and as you see, I think you can see it, the check brick, it's part of the rubric for each of the assignments that they're adding that estructura piece. So again, you decide what you want to do with these lessons, how you want to pace them. Yeah. Anyone else or preguntas? Okay. So anything you want to discuss or ask about on this? I guess it's kind of a pacing guide. It's kind of not. It's just remember that like the goal is that by November 15th, you're getting through module 1. And right now we're going to dig into unit 0. I'm going to take like a half hour for that. Cohort 1, 2 teachers, did you print these things for their classroom? Did you laminate any of these things? I thought I had the accountable talk in English, Spanish. Do you want to talk about how you set up your classroom?
So for those,
Yeah.
like, how we talk about not having like a whole list of vocabulary words, because like it's really not, So I just kind of like the ones we use from, I have a chart paper and I have this kind of like a clothesline that goes on around my windows, and we just add to it whenever something comes up and it's meaningful to students. Like I don't just print them. I didn't last year.
Oh, one of the things I do want to talk about the vocabulary. So again, I have like, it doesn't have a column here to show the vocabulary, but like there is a lot of vocabulary in each module. And so there's the vocabulary related to, like, this is the pre-reading, right? Lots of, it's interdisciplinary. It has a lot of information about ciencias naturales. And then there's the vocabulary that is in context here, fangales, lagunas, things like that, that come up in the text. But then there's this whole section about history and things like that, exploring El Caribe, there's videos, things like that. So there are a lot of, there's not a vocabulary list for each unit as I understand, for each module as I understand it. But I did see when I went into classrooms, a lot of times focusing on vocab that students may not have needed. So I would say with what I am hoping to do, and if you come in person on Monday, I'm going to model 2-minute cards for you. And basically I can agree to, for each module, have a set of 2-minute cards. I will create a short video to explain it, and if you can come in person on Monday. But essentially, it's a quick way to get students to engage with vocabulary in like 5 minutes at the beginning of class and review all the vocab. Because I think what happened, teachers were like spending a lot of time teaching all these words. The students didn't need these words, and they definitely did not need to spend 90 minutes over 2 days to teach these words. So again, you decide, an onomatopoeia and anaphora, and a lot of these are cognates and they might know them. So for the structure, fase dos grammar, and for the vocabulary, really think about how much instructional time you want to spend on them. And if you think all of them are palabras clave, like how much time on bardo, brotan, signe, things like that. So that's going to be decisions you have to make.
If I can say something about the
Yeah.
vocabulary,
Yeah.
something that I did was I had created a Quizlet for the vocabulary. And if you go onto Quizlet and you just kind of search Galeria, Modulo Una, you'll find that some people have already created them, and maybe you just tweak it for the words that you're working on. And it's the Quizlet, like if you get the teacher account, it's like $35 for the year, but it really does enable you to like assign them some practice activities, see if they did it, and then you don't need the teacher account to play like Quizlet Live with them, where they play some games with each other in the class, and they have a lot of fun. They're really, it's really interactive and engaging, and it's really interesting. The students who really do study their vocabulary and are paying attention, like they know the words, and then the ones who are just kind of talking and chatting it up, they don't know the words. So it's like, wait, you know this? So they kind of it makes them feel like, okay, yeah, like I may not be able to do X, Y, and Z, but I'm like, I'm strong in my vocabulary knowledge, and that's really, really nice to see. I have found that teaching them the vocabulary is really empowering for them. I just looking at the other, English language classes, whether it's science or social studies or English, when the students are reading and they don't understand what they're reading, it's like they're not getting the point. They're not able to produce that, demonstrate those critical thinking skills that you're hoping that they end with. And so, I guess just really identifying like what are the most important vocabulary words for them to know. And then just finding a way to not just teach it to them, but like, when it comes up in their reading, making sure that they that they see it, that they're like, oh yeah, that's that word that means this, or yeah, just kind of, you know, teaching and reinforcing vocabulary, I think is always important in any subject matter.
You know what's weird for us? Al contrario, like we don't really, everything is in context. We say a lot, don't worry about exactly what this word means. Like, do you understand what it means in this sentence? Like, read the sentence before and after, and can you like guess what it means? We don't really do a lot of, I don't know, like definitions per se. And then it just comes up. They write in their notebook like what it means, and then eventually we just tell them what it means, and we just move on.
Yeah, we had a running notebook, like composition books, and the kids would take notes on their own, like things they wanted to remember. We also gave out Spanish English dictionaries because my librarian, I don't know, someone messed up in my school and I have like 1,000 of them, so I give them away every year. But they would like pull out the dictionary and then write it in their notebook. And like the kids that wrote them would say it, like Carla said, like a few weeks later, they would be like, oh, I don't know, it was the one about like overcropping or something about crops, that it would like make the land a wasteland. They were like, oh, I remember that word. It was like, we did that 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, how do you remember that word? And they had like written it in their notebook. So just keeping like a running notebook for themselves, not making them write it down, but they chose to write these words down to remember them. So it was pretty good.
Thanks for sharing these. I'm kind of trying to capture these big ideas, right? So we learn each year, we learn about these things. Okay, I see 6 comments in the chat.
You can use this for teacher's choice. You just, you know, when you get your invoice in your email, you just kind of submit it in your teacher's choice, like list of supplies, and it does qualify. I submit it every year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm only able to link to like things that are free, but yeah, so you guys, and Padlet, for example, I love Padlet. And that is something that I have not paid for Pro, but I might, because like for all my different PDs and stuff like that. Yeah. Padlet's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
And that could be
definitely.
something.
Thanks, Arlene. And
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
at school, you can just share it. Like me and Yvette just share mine. We're not gonna pay for two.
Yeah.
yeah, I saw that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And the other piece, just thinking about the structure of each of them, is that every text has an audio file read by a native speaker. And I think, I don't know if you clicked on all of them, Maria, when you were doing it, but essentially, I think it's a variety of Spanish speaking accents as well. Or I don't know if the speaker is specifically from that region that is in that. That would be cool. But in each of the module folders, Yvette, I know you helped with the MP4s at some point, but I think we're not supposed to download the MP4s. So we have.
You're not. I like go in the source code and download.
No,
They're
I know.
not. They don't make the videos easy to download, but like I can't always rely on the super site downloading like in the middle of class. So.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? You have to think about how much you want to be dependent on the super site during class and if you have a tech issue. So at the very least, the MP3s of each of the, like the MP3s for each of them are in here. So cuando era puertorriqueña, right? So save yourself some energy. Like you do not need to be reading these out loud. There is an MP3. You could have students doing choral reading, things like that. But anything you want to share, cohorts 1 or 2, about the audios and videos, for example, available on the super site.
Me and Arlene are laughing. They're very boring.
They're boring.
Like we use them in a pinch, but they're like the minute we turned one of them on, the kids were like, "Miss, please, no. It's like some of them are really slow and like like that lullaby puts you to sleep. We had 7th period. Like they were ready. No.
Some of them are, unless you want to assign them for them to hear it. Like I find that some of my students speak the Spanish, but reading is not their forte. But if they're listening, like if they're doing silent reading, for example, they could be listening and reading. That's one way that I use them, or, you know, but they're helpful as well. But they don't have the same adobo that a teacher would put it, like us, would put into it. We have
Yeah.
a different adobo or chimichurri or whatever sauce you want to think of that I think we put in it. I think it's, and you know where to pause, and you know, you're the teacher waiting time, even during reading, that I think the MP3 doesn't have.
Yeah. Okay.
I think,
So I
sorry.
want to close this up. Go ahead. Was someone going to talk?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that if you're like, lesson learned, my first year doing this, I played the video, well, the listening of the audio, and then I saw some students like just like tuning out, not following along, and I just like, okay, I need to find a way to, accountability, right? Like making sure, like, what are you listening for, and writing something down, or maybe stop and talk, about what you understood, or something like that, just to kind of check for understanding, if they're just listening.
Yeah. So anytime you're putting anything in front of them, a video or a listening, right? Think about what they're doing to stay cognitively engaged, right? So the overview video, actually, so FASE, there's an overview video for each module. And so those are kind of dorky, right? I think some of the students think they're dorky. So for module 1, for example, we were able to download this, but for the other modules, it's linked in the teacher's guide. But basically, as I understand it, you have to be logged into vhlcentral.com, and then you can click on the different links, because sometimes they're kind of hard to navigate and find within the super site. But it's linked there for you. It's like a, I don't know, like a 3-minute video. Actually, we'll do that after lunch. I want to give like 20 minutes to go into to unit 0. Is that okay? Everyone can. Okay, the recap is super important. Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, so I'm glad you're helping each other with all those things. I am going to I want you to be able to click on them. A lot of you are already on these slides because you found them. I'll put this in the chat. We are specifically looking at slide 29 now. And so all of you should have view access to the slides. I will say some of the afternoon slides are kind of messy, so I'm going to remove some of them. But join on slide 29, and Unit 0 was inspired by Unit 0 for no Hispanohablantes. For all the students, why do we even take a language? What does it mean to be a language learner? What are we even going to do in this class? Like, why am I here? Blah, 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 blah. So Unit 0 overview for heritage is, what does it mean to be a heritage speaker? What are we going to work on? Things like that. And so it was created a few years ago, and then this summer on June 30th, some of the cohort 1-2 teachers revamped this to make it better. So it's meant to be 3 lessons. It probably could take like 5 days. So Yvette, Kaylin, Maria, anyone want to share your thoughts? Carla, on Unit 0, what was good about it? What might you change? Tips?
Yeah, so we changed, Nancy was there, Nancy Dominguez was there on June 30th when me and Kaylin and Juan was there too, working on this. So we changed, we did not touch the overview though, Jill. So that still is like the old one.
Yeah.
What we came to the conclusion was that it was too similar to that Spanish one, like intro to why are we taking a language? And there was some stuff from there that all of us, and Shivani also, that all of us didn't use or like did in these 3 lessons and then never came back to. So we kind of revamped those 3 lessons to be a little bit more coherent and cohesive, and have a little product at the end of each one that led up to the final one, which is like starting this portfolio for the testimonios. So yeah, we changed the focus question and then made it a little bit more, have more of a through line in it. So the lessons, like the 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 slides are modified. They look a little wonky because it's like old format, new format. Some were my slides, some were Kaylin's slides, and we just kind of like threw everything in there and made it on the fly. And then the all-in-one is the one that I took, and I made my one unit for my class in September. So they're both there. They're all linked.
Good question, Stephanie. I see Stephanie's question about the seal, right? And this will be the first year Cardozo is doing the seal of biliteracy. One of the big pieces of the seal of biliteracy is, and it's linked in here. Let's take like a few minutes to talk about the seal. So if your school does not currently offer the seal of biliteracy, I think Cardozo, you're going to do it for the first time. Astrid, I think we're getting your school to do it for the first time. Basic information on the seal is here. You need to sign up. I'm going to ask all of you to talk to your administrators in September, and by October, make a decision if you're going to participate. If you have 12th graders, we definitely want them to get the seal, even a small pilot. This is the criteria chart for the seal, and specifically, almost all students across the city end up having to do the 2E project that meets the criteria for speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So the project has been it's been 3 parts, a part A, a part B, and a part C. And so this, for the first time, we kind of added it into the pacing guide scope and sequence. And if you're participating in the seal, that you would have students in November write a part A essay where they're connecting to any topic. And it could be the themes that come up in module 1 are like immigration and things like that. Basically, you can decide how you want to do the seal, but over the course of the year, they could be doing the seal projects. So they would do part A maybe in November, part B in January and February. Part B is doing research, right? They could be doing research related to one of the modules. And then part C presentations could be happening in March, February, March, and maybe early April. But we don't want the presentations. This is a change for everyone, not just these courses. We do not want the presentations going after April because it's stressful. It's too close to AP exams, things like that. Yeah. Oh, Monica. Yeah. And they all graduated?
No, there were, I think, only 1 or 2, and then the rest, they're gonna do Spanish Heritage too. So I told them, like, you gotta do the classes too in English because they gotta work hard to do to get the requirements in the English part because they still don't help. Like some of them they didn't take the regions yet, or they only scored like 70 or 75 on the English class. So they gotta work hard in order to get all the points in English.
Yeah, and Yvette's writing in the chat too. Yeah, the seal of biliteracy is a seal of biliteracy, right? So your students in your Español para Hispanohablantes classes, I'm sure would have no problem satisfying the points on the right side. Through this course, Enderos Cruzados, we are suggesting, we meaning the statewide seal of biliteracy task force, we are suggesting to the Board of Regents that 2C is added heritage language courses so that this heritage course would count towards the seal. That is not no conformado, and we don't know if that's going to be true. But in your heritage course, your students will be well positioned for the seal of biliteracy because they're going to take a 2D assessment 2 times. So they have 2 chances to use that apple or stamp to get the seal point and to do the project. So Monica, let's make sure those students have a chance to get it. But on the English side, what you said, if they're entering an emerging ELS, they're newcomers, they might have difficulty on the English side. So we still want them to be really proud of who they are, but they may not get the state seal of biliteracy. if they do not have the English proficiency too.
Yeah, I know one of my students, she's a senior now, and then she's gonna take the second part, and then she's gonna do the AP Spanish too at the same time. And then she also did the Regents. She only I think she got like 75 or something. So I told her, okay, she has to retake it again in August. Just prepare in order to get like 80 or 85. I don't know what's the he needs to get in the
Yeah.
Regents, and
Yeah,
then okay, she will try. I said you has to get it because I mean, we'll be like very sad. I mean, she couldn't get it because she's a Spanish speaker. So then but let's see. Cross my fingers to see if that works
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah. So, anything else reframing our conversation about the nice? Yeah. At least it can be used to seal. Oh yeah. Carla, let's talk more because your school too, I think you have some students who we should do a small pilot with your school and find a few students who are motivated, right, as 12th graders.
Okay, yeah, because they would be 12th graders this coming year. So
Yeah.
I got you,
Kind of.
Carla. Erica helped me last year, and it was like so much easier than I thought it was. We
Really?
can work together. Yeah, me and Arlene were like, oh, that's it. So
Well,
we can work together on that if you want. Because mine are also seniors, and it was like I was like, no, they're never gonna be able to do this. But the project was not we weaved it into the class.
well,
The problem is that my students are 11th graders, right? And so next year's 12th graders, they don't have me. So they would have to come see me maybe after school sometime or during lunch to work on the project. But they're motivated. The ones that are interested are motivated to do it. I just don't I feel like I can't wrap my mind around it because I've never seen like an example of a project or like,
yeah.
like.
And Yvette and Arlene, if you have suggestions on how, like, did you have them do a part A based on module 1 or module 2 that they were in?
We picked a
theme.
The theme, yeah. Okay. It was like de familias or home.
Family and community.
And then when we were talking about in module 1 and in module 2, the ETFs that I'm never gonna forget what malaria is now. They wrote a piece about how like La Salud connects to their community. And some of them picked like poverty, some of them picked diseases, but they wrote a piece on that. And then in ELA class, they were also writing about them and their community. Our ELA teacher is pretty cool, and we just told her to please assign it to everyone. So they had the English component at the same.
But Carla, something that also helped, we had someone come visit us from our district, not our administrator person, but someone else. It was for a special ed thing. And her suggestion to us was like, then just you do it in English. Take a week, and instead of heritage, this week you're doing the English component of the Seal by Literacy. Just do it in your class. Don't rely on another teacher. Don't have to because I mean, we're a small school and people have there's only one teacher for each subject. Maybe in big schools, it's also harder to collaborate with someone else that's like 2 floors away. So just do it in your class. Like take a week and do it in your own class and do the English component of it. And it's like, maybe it's not time wasted. It's like time invested into now they have the full project and you have it under control because you did it in your class.
Okay.
For those of you, hi Leo, for those of you doing the seal for the first time, the big idea is that you'll talk to your administrator and by October should make a decision on being part of it. And what you need to do is set up a 5-person committee. So, and like Yvette, I'm sure you did most of the work for it. Maria, you probably did most of the work for it. Leo, who's like the AP, but it's meant to be 5 people, including a world language teacher, an administrator, a counselor, an ELA teacher, and an ENL teacher. So, and the idea of collaboration with ELA teachers is coming up throughout, right? It's essential for the SEAL, but also for this course, right? Like Josue, who's not here, who's a new cohort 3 teacher, he has an ELA background. And so like collaboration with your ELA teachers will be really helpful through this course, right? Poesia, what have they already taught with Poesia? Like, have the students already done a lot of these things in their ELA course? And you'll be helping each other help the students build literacy. Yeah. Okay. Monica's school has the English teachers in charge of the English project. Yeah. Okay. Designated a specific teacher. So we can figure that out. But the big idea is that over the course of a year, hopefully students are completing that 2E project as part of your course. And then, Carla, to your point, they can do the project even if they're in 10th, probably 10th grade's a little early, but if they have your class in 11th grade, they can do the project. And then senior year, maybe they need to take another assessment, or maybe they finished all the requirements with the test and the project before they even go to 12th grade, you know? Trying to think smarter, not harder, so these students in this class get like a lot of things out of it. Yeah. Do you want a few minutes to click around on the Unit 0 slides? I need to fix up this overview to match the work that they did on June 30th. Anyone else? How many days did you spend on Unit 0? And because it's a lot, right?
I honestly don't recall. I just feel like the whole, like it was, everything was so new, and I was just trying to make sure that I was trying to keep up and stay on top of everything. And so I cannot recall. I'd have to look back on my notes.
We took the month of September. Like we didn't start Módulo Uno until October, like mid-October, because we didn't have the books. So like not by choice, but we were like prolonging it as much as we could because we just didn't have the books yet. So we took our time, like with the activities. The bodega activity is super fun. The kids got really into it. And yeah, we kind of delved deep and set that foundation for them. And then once we started once we had the books.
I know, I always assume like on September 4th, you're starting Unit 0, but every school says they have this to do, that to do. I will say the one piece is, so the first cafecito is on September 18th. That's the third Thursday. Okay, so that is 2 weeks after the first day of school. I'm going to say it would be great if you're finishing Unit 0 by like that Monday, right? What is that? If that's the 18th, then it's Monday. Is it Monday the 15th maybe? I say that because in 0.1, there's a survey, and similar to what we did Charlemos this morning, like ¿Qué te más emociona? What makes you most excited about this year? What do you think of your Spanish? Things like that. What do you think is going to be a challenge? This is embedded in 0.1, and it gives really good information. So I'm going to ask you to please really plan out so that you're doing Unit 0, these 3 lessons. You're going to have survey responses, you're going to have language maps, you're going to have your variaciones lexicas charts for your classroom, all in Unit 0. And then our first cafecito on the 18th, we'll talk about Unit 0. You'll bring some examples of student work, and then we can look at the survey results. Okay? And then you go into Module 1. Okay, otras preguntas?
Jill, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So on the planning calendar, I guess, it says abbreviated version of Unit 0.
Yes. So that's because your students that you're getting for year 2 would have already had Unit 0 in year 1 with Ariana.
So then we can talk about what that would look like.
Yeah, I think we need to meet to talk about what your year is going to look like. Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be great. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. But the survey, yeah, I might fix up that survey a little bit. I mean, you're in the next week, a lot of things will fall into place. Yeah. I'll be updating these things. Okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we were going to take a break for lunch and then come back together at 12:30 and really dig into Module 1. And Gabby and which other teachers know that they're going to be teaching a level 2, I'm going to ask you to dig into module 6. And so, yeah, we'll do that. But I'd like everyone to right now, we did not get to this before, but ahora, antes pensaba, ahora pienso. Who's used this? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? If I say antes pensaba, ahora pienso. Project Zero. Okay. Okay, Juan, I'll follow up with you. Okay, so visible thinking strategies, right? So this is something that Project Zero, I'll type in Project Zero, and we will put some of these onto the Google Drive. Project Zero is from Harvard, and it's a thinking routines toolbox. We want our students to like articulate what they're learning and things like that. So this website is a lot of clicks, just like all my resources, but resources, thinking routine toolbox. And there are lots of different thinking routines. And I used to think, now I think. And so getting students to end classes with these or things like that. So we're going to close up this portion. It's 12 o'clock. I want you to take a few minutes. All of these Project Zero Harvard thinking routines are available in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. So I want you to take a few minutes. Think about what we did between 9 a.m. and now, and about this course so far. Before we go to lunch, I want you to type in the chat, antes pensaba, blah, 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 ahora pienso, okay? Before we go to lunch. Yeah, the name of the website. I'll put it in all these thinking routines, all available in English and Spanish.
Gracias.
See? Yeah, see, think, wonder, you've done. Connect, extend, challenge, right? Conectar, ampliar, desafiar. These are really good resources. Oh, good, my job is done. Stephanie feels supported. Whew. Nice. Una clase increíble. I'm going to make sure to save this chat and add these to a slide. Yeah. Cool. So take a minute, share your closing thoughts. Let's come back together at 12:35. And if you stay on Zoom, you can just turn off your camera and stuff, okay? But please do put your antes pensaba, ahora pienso in the chat before you leave. Thanks for starting us off, Stephanie. Cada año mejor, right? Every year it gets better. I have to look up some of these words. Desgastante. I'm trying to use my context clues and des with that, or break down gastar is to spend. I don't know. Okay. Have a nice lunch. 12:35. Okay. Thank you.
Jill, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Would it be okay to stay like 5 minutes after everybody? Just I have a couple of Mod Hall 2 quick questions at the end.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Um,
I made myself available. I'm trying to finish like at 2 with everybody, but I have until 3. And then I have tomorrow. So Gabby will set up time, just you and me, I think. And then I'll be available for other people. And then Friday I'm also available, and then Monday in person if people want to come. I don't know, Gabby, if you could come in person, and I'll have the teacher edition. We'll figure it out.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll be there Monday. This week is a little bit tricky. I'll be there Monday, but these are just kind of
Yeah.
silly questions. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we
Thanks.
waited till the end of August, but come on, we're gonna get you ready.
100%. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jill, I'm sorry.
Yeah.